We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Roll call, Brenda.
Here.
Mary.
Here.
Diana.
Here.
Keith.
Yes.
I'm also here. Meeting has been properly noticed and certified.
Yes, it has been.
Okay.
I was just checking to see if I got an email.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the agenda. Diana, second Jeff. Any questions or comments on the agenda?
If I want I have to count the number, 6A,
Yes.
there are parts of that that I would like to have pulled out. Do you want me to discuss that now, or do you want me to wait until that comes up?
Well, we can do that with a motion if you want to at that time.
Okay, I'll wait till that time.
Okay. Any other questions on the agenda? Okay. Got a motion by Diana, seconded by Jeff. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? All right. Approval of the September 15th, 2014 regular session meeting minutes.
Regular session, I'll make a motion to approve regular session.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Diana. Any questions on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Approval of the September 15th executive session meeting minutes. Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Brenda, thank you. Any questions? Kind of hard to ask questions on that one. All in favor? Aye? Aye. Opposed? And the last one is approval of the September 29th special meeting minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Mary. Jeff, any questions on that? You will note that there's actually 9A is an error that I missed on the agenda. So that is an error, just as a heads up. So we've got a motion by Mary, seconded by Jeff, to approve the special meeting minutes from September 29th. All in favor? Aye? Aye. Opposed? All right. Addressing the board, school news.
I actually have several things. One is our student representative, Blaine, sent an email today. He's involved in the musical, and they're having practice every Monday night. So at least through November 8th, he will not be able to join us for meetings. He just wanted to let us know because they're having a lot of critical practices and he can't miss that. One other thing, this weekend on Friday evening and Saturday, we hosted educator effectiveness training for our teachers and Verona teachers. We have a grant that we have together with the Verona School District, and earlier this year they hosted it and our teachers went there, and this weekend their teachers came here, and we have some of our administrators have been helping teach that educator effectiveness training, and I know our staff that have been involved in it have felt it's been very worthwhile. So we did host that. And then I wanted to give you a little update on where we are with the strategic plan goals. The four-year-old kindergarten, they have been looking at all three of the goals involving the strategic plan. As far as the first goal, they've looked at the PALS data, and they're collecting that information right now. And that's being collected by the 4K teachers because they didn't really have any data going into this year since it's a new program. So they haven't set that goal yet, so they're just going to be working on that shortly. Their technology goal is that all teachers in the 4K and directors will utilize Infinite Campus and our email, and they will do some Google surveys to see where their comfort level is with technology use and move from there to develop action plans. And their wellness goal, they're working on behavioral expectations for the 4-year-old so that all sites have similar consistent expectations. And that's just kind of one of the things they're working on in that area. They've had the pyramid model for social and emotional competence trainings for the staff as well. The ELC and PC have developed, are working on developing a plan. Most of the buildings took the 3 goals, and through the data retreat process and the staff that were involved with that, they're actually kind of working on their own building goals associated with those, and then also action plans. And I'll kind of send around, this is an example of the middle school. This is the format we're using at the school building level. And that you can kind of see, they actually have 3 goals, and then kind of their steps. They're starting to develop their action steps. So at the ELCPC, they would like to have 85% of their K students show adequate growth in reading as evidenced by 1 or more district assessment measures. And safety, they would increase by 10% the number of first and second grade students who have 0 PBIS documentation forms. And then the technology one, 100% of their classroom teachers at the ELC and PC will implement all commonly developed technology lessons during this school year. So all 3 of these goals, they're going to continue to work on throughout the year, and they're starting to kind of develop their action plans, how they're going to move forward on those. And that will be shared with the whole group that was involved in strategic planning. All of these different buildings and departments will share those when we get together in the spring, and then they will all come to the board. So once these action plans are fully developed, that will happen. And the IC then, they had their data retreat, as everyone did, and they have they've developed their SMART goals, and they're shared those with the staff, and now they are kind of discussing ways to move from that initial stage into actually forming committees at the building level and figuring out how they're going to move forward on all those. And the middle school is the same. Actually, you can see the middle schools, that's pretty much where they are right now in the process. And the high school has taken the 3 goals that they actually wrote their goals in the summer during the data retreat process, and now they've given them to each department to work on action plans to move forward on those goals. So the departments at the high school are working on action plans. And then probably the last area is the technology department, which they've kind of analyzed the 3 goals, meeting together and decided where they are, what's their status, what are some things they're already doing, working towards those, and what are some things they could do in the future, and then now they're going to develop action plans to move forward on some of those possibilities for the future. So I just kind of wanted to give the board an update on where we were with our strategic planning process, and as you can see, every building is really involved. And the format was developed, and I think the building principals think that's a great way to stay organized and kind of have everyone on the same page. So everyone's kind of using the same process with their groups. Any questions on that? I know it's a lot of information.
Now, we re-engage with Michael Shook at some point.
Yes, and actually, he will be the person that will be coming in February or March. In the spring, when we get the large group together and review the action plans with them, he will be involved in that process again.
Questions? Okay, any other school news?
No, that's all.
Any school news from our administration? No? Okay. I have just 2 things I want to note, and I'm kind of jumping ahead in the agenda. As far as administrative reports, 2 things really stuck out to me that I feel are worth mentioning. One is Maddie Cook being named a commended student for national merit. And I think that's phenomenal. I mean, that's what this is all about. And then also Gwen Francis winning the National Yearbook Program of Excellence Award. So congratulations to her. With no other school news, do we have any citizens' comments? Yes, Keith.
I'd like to, once a year, I invite our school board members and our administrators to the annual convention of Wisconsin Health and Physical Education Incorporated. This year it's at the Kalahari. And I'd like to remind our administrators that your fee is waived if you can make it up to the Kalahari and come to one or both days. And also for our administrators, if you attend with one of our health or physical educators, at the end of that day, that physical educator's registration fee is refunded. And school board members, same, you're welcome, come as our guest. All fees are waived. Hope you can make it. Great program. We've got over 90 breakout sessions on technology, cutting-edge health and physical education programs from some genuine experts in the field. So hope you can make it.
Thank you. Do we have any, yes? If you wouldn't mind, because I think we have actually a number of comments tonight, would you mind stepping up to the microphone so that we get you?
I've got a very loud voice because I...
All right, very good.
If anyone complains, I will be shocked, okay? My name is Susan Kohler, and I want to tell you about a nice compliment our band received when we played the Forest Owanakee football team. And I saw a parent, and she came up to me, and she said, "Boy, you've got a good band. They not only can play, they can march too." And you know that's true. I have been to other football games, and it's very, very sad. And our music department is super. And that band, 207, I think, members in that band. And they're just awesome. And I just wanted you to know that that comment came from, it isn't the enemy, but it's the opponent.
Thank you. Do we have any other citizens' comments? Any other comments? Seeing none. Financial business, I believe, again, I'm not sure why we leave this on the agenda. But all questions were submitted to Diana. I had a few. Any questions on the financial reports? Okay. Personnel transactions, 6A.
I would like to move that we discuss Roman numeral 3A, hires 1 through 10, that we hold on that. We can discuss in exec session why I'm doing that, but I would like us to hold off on moving on that action.
Would you care to make a motion to approve the others?
I would make a motion to approve Roman numeral 1 and 2 items A, B,
All of them under those
C, D,
two?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Second by Leah. Okay, any questions on those? So the motion is to approve items 1 and 2 and all the subsets of each of those. Questions?
Can I just ask a question? Certainly not challenging any of these, but when a paraprofessional's hours are increased from 25 to 35, does that have immediate impact on benefits? Are we still...
There's some impact, yes. There's some impact.
I mean, but the actual status of the Affordable Care Act is still being pushed to the future, isn't it?
Right.
We're still in the measurement
Yep.
period, right?
Yep, we are, but there is an additional benefit that they receive for
Oh.
have the increased hours.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Does this include the addendum?
Actually, the addendum is a replacement of your Thursday one. So Friday is everything, and I think the only maybe change was the first item was added.
Okay, any other questions? So we have a motion from Mary, seconded by Leah, to approve items 1 and 2 in personnel transactions. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? All right, and we'll take up 3A, 1 through 10 in closed session. Consent agenda. Can we have a motion? Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Keith. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? All right. New business district report card update. Mr. Burke.
Well, if you give me a minute, I could put it up on the screen, otherwise I don't have enough copies for everybody of our district report card.
This is what was in our packet, though,
Yeah.
It was
correct?
in your
Yep.
packet,
So,
and I'll let anybody who wants a copy have a copy, but also let you know that By the end of the week, we'll update the curriculum page of our website, and it'll have a link to our school district report card if you want to look at that. So does anyone here need a copy?
I've got it.
Okay. Then, thank you. If you'd like a copy. Overall, some really good news to report. Our students continue to do very well. Our overall accountability score is a 79.7. That's up almost a full % over last year, which was a 78.8. I want to remind you that this is based on growth. It's not just based on achievement or attainment. For the last 3 years that the school report card has been in place, they measure a lot of things. Not only the achievement, which is the attainment of the student, but the growth, closing gaps, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and on track to post-secondary readiness, meaning that graduation rate, things like reading score and so on. One of the things that I'd like to say that, even though our students are doing very well, 2 areas that I think we can continue to improve upon. And when I say continue, I do know that we've been working on these areas and that we've been getting better. And that's why, over last year, you can see that our score as a district went up. But our closing the gap score, since 2004, our students with disabilities, with specific learning disabilities, have had substandard performance. And we've been really working hard to try to engage with that subset group, try to make some progress. And we've made great progress. Back in 2004, we were identified as a school of needs of improvement in that area. And we've done a lot of things within our special education programming and with our regular education programming, with our RTI programming, to make sure, A, that we're catching students prior to needing that type of intervention. And as students do need specific learning disability attention, we just really work hard with those students to make sure that their progress is better. But we do need to close that gap, and so we'll continue to work on that. Also, our student growth. This year, at our data retreat, we really discussed the difference between what attainment is and what growth is, and really looking at growth of students and what we can do to affect growth of students, whether they're a lower performer or a higher performer, making sure that we keep all students moving forward. As a district, on measures like our measures of academic progress, our MAP test, about 55 to 56% of our kids in reading are growing. That leaves about 44% that aren't necessarily growing. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mean that they're not learning anything. What I mean is the standard growth for them is a year's growth. What we're trying to measure is what a year plus growth is. And that's when we look at their specific growth target. Because we can look at each individual student's score and we can say this is what their growth target is based on past history, their grade level, subject area. We can say that this is what they should be. And any time a student falls below that, it doesn't mean they're not attaining a year's worth of growth. But what it does say is that, just maintaining, from an average student this year to an average student next year, it's not exactly what we want for everybody. I mean, I know our community and us as a district, we expect that we're going to grow better than state average. That's the lowest bar we're setting for ourselves. But what we would like to do is we'd like to grow better than we did last year. And that's what I'm talking about. We're trying to keep an eye on how do we do that. Because when you look at a measure like the state has based on growth as a portion of the score, you will always, the more you grow, the harder it will be to continue to grow because of the ceiling effect. I've always said this, and it's getting to be an old example, but it still rings true. A golfer like Tiger Woods can only shave so many strokes off their score. They become a scratch golfer. I can continue to improve on my golfing because I got a long way to go. I'm no Tiger Woods, but it's easier for me to reach that growth. But once you get there and you're a scratch golfer, you hit that ceiling, and to stay a scratch golfer is hard. And so when you look at stuff like significantly exceeds, which is a goal that we have as a district or within our buildings, that's a place you visit. It's not always a place you can stay. But because our overall accountability score is still going up, that means that we're getting there. And hopefully it's a place we will visit someday. There's nothing to be ashamed about with exceeds expectations for all of our schools and as a district. We do that well, and we would like to see how we can get to significantly exceeds in one of our schools, if not overall as a district. But those are the areas we work on. Again, I'd like to say congratulations to our staff and our students because we are a high attaining school district and we will continue to grow. That's all I have. I'll entertain any questions.
Are there any questions? If I look at the report correctly, the student growth, reading growth, mathematics growth, which you touched on specific to a certain subset of the student population, that 66.8, that is our lowest score for the district. And that's an overall score, correct? Based
Correct.
on maps and dibbles?
No, it's an overall score based on the WKCE.
Okay.
Only.
Oh, only WKC.
Right.
Okay.
I talked about those other measures because that's what we use as a school district to kind of try to do our best guess at how we can get students to do that, because the WKC is once a year. You don't get the score reports until months after they've taken it. But on those other measures, we can kind of monitor their progress more frequently. So that's why I measure those.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Jared, do you know why the district report we're ranked 79.7, but each of the schools is lower than that? So obviously it's not a compilation, so I'm just
Right,
curious.
it's
what the
not a
factor-
compilation. And there are multiple factors, and some of those factors aren't something that, are something we want to discuss in this forum. I mean, if you want to call, I can definitely go through some of those with you. And some of those are factors that they put in. There's the public portal that everybody can see, and then there's some scores that are in the back end that only school districts can see and are reportable because of the identifying nature of kids. And so I want to be able to share those with you individually because you are employees of the school district. I can do that with you individually, but I can't necessarily go into some of those things in the public setting because the identification of students might happen.
I understand.
So if you want to call, we can set up and discuss that.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Jared. Third Friday update.
Okay, in your board packet, you had kind of 2 pages of information regarding enrollment and Third Friday membership. The first page has 2 charts on it, and the top chart is students who we are actually educating here. They're attending school in our school district. And the bottom are students that are residents that we count for revenue limit and aid purposes. But some of them may be attending school elsewhere. So if you look at the top, you can see that the students that are NOE is the non-resident open enrollment. Those kids are coming here and we're educating them. And on the bottom, the resident out are students that are residents of our district that are attending elsewhere. And we've talked about that before in open enrollment. It could be a virtual school, it could be a neighboring school district. And the difference between the two is kind of our net open enrollment. So we have about 34. So we have, kind of there's some going in and out, and we have a net coming in. On the second page is historical information about Third Friday enrollment for resident students, and that's the students that we do count for revenue limit purposes and aid purposes. And it's 15-year historical data on that. If you look at the total column, that shows head count for changes over the years. And you can see in the last column the difference. It's, we're pretty much growth. We had one year which was kind of odd year where we went down for some reason, and we've had some years that we haven't grown as much, but even taking off our 4-year-old kindergarten program, we have a net increase of about 31 students. And we gotta, sometimes we tweak some of our open enrollment throughout the years. We find out addresses are different, or things have changed, which sometimes is later information. But right now, we're at about 31 for an increase for revenue limit purposes. And as we've talked about, and will be talked about some more at finance, with the way the revenue limit system works, it's like a 3-year rolling average, so it actually takes us 3 years to see full credit for any increases in student resident membership. And we realized that when we talked about 4K. We knew that going into 4-year-old kindergarten, it takes us 3 years to get, really have those students count fully, because it's always a 3-year average that you're working with. But we still, even taking the 4-year-old kindergarten off, we still have had growth in our student resident count.
Can I ask the pre-K column?
Mm-hmm.
For this year, is that just 3-year-olds, and previous years it was 3 and
Yeah,
4-year-olds?
yeah,
Okay.
yep. That's why it is a little bit lower, because we are having most of those kids, if not all, at the 4K sites. And so our early childhood, we're working with the sites.
Any other questions? Mary? No? Looked like you're deep in thought over there. I thought you
Yeah.
were formulating a
A
question.
little lost in the numbers, but yeah.
Okay. All right. 8C, update on the high school HVAC.
Okay, I was hoping to have a little more information. Our attorney is working on that with Honeywell or ESG, and when I contacted our attorney late today, he is trying to get some more information and would like to speak with me in the morning. So if maybe I'll have that for district updates, but he's very aware of the importance of the time frame that we're working on. And Gary, I know, has contacted some independent consultants that our attorney provided for us that would be willing to maybe review the project. I don't know, Gary, if you have anything you want to add about that?
I'm still waiting to hear also, and a lot of their questions are, what's our standing with ESG? Some of them would be interested in taking on this project or whatever. Some of them are too busy. Some of them refer to other people. Some don't do K-12. But I have 3 of them. I talked with 3 engineers last Thursday, and they're formulating an opinion, and they'll get back to us. And I expected to get a letter from the Bolt company Wednesday. They said they would have that. And of course, Heil, we know what his views were if he were to get involved in this. But the question is, what's going to happen with ESG for most of them, being engineers?
So my concern, and I've voiced this to Deb, is that right now is when we're supposed to be sending out our new bids. And if we miss it this year and we get high bids again, not only will we be over budget again, but we will also, if we don't actually start the project, we lose that referendum money.
Yes, and they, the ones that I did talk to indicated there's no time to do a new design. They basically have to utilize that design, tweak it to a degree, and possibly realize some savings, but there's no time to do a new design. So it seems how the district owns that design, they utilize it, and they indicate it as such. If they could use it with some tweaking and maybe find some ways to utilize it, or it just depends. But there's no time to redesign it. You're correct.
And do we have, are we voicing what is our internal, this is our drop dead date for when we're going to have these bids out?
Well, we had talked about like late October or sometime in November for sure, so that we could get everything back by January, because last year ended up being March and
Right.
or April before we actually got bids back.
Yeah, Keith.
As I understand it, ESG is still our general
Correct.
contractor.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have
No,
not severed
no,
ties
we
with
have-
them.
No, they are our
They-
contractor.
And we're simply going to rebid them soon.
Mhm.
That's what we're working
Yeah.
on, yep.
these groups would be essentially oversight or if something were to not pan out correctly with ESG. But we're just having back up, trying to get some people online.
Okay. I feel like we should really, if you haven't already discussed, this is the date we're going to communicate to Board Member Clark that we absolutely need to know what are the steps necessary for us to move forward with or without ESG. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck again. So, any other comments on that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. We've got to move forward. We can't keep hoping that's going to last one more year.
Right. Well, and if we don't start it and actually execute on the project this year, it'll have to go to referendum again.
Yeah, but I think we've got to start the demo on that as soon as school's out next spring.
That'd be the goal. So.
Well, I mean, I really think it's something, this is one of those things we have to do.
Mhm. Any other comments? Jeff?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. All right. 9A, joint, oh, that's the one we don't need unless somebody has a comment about our joint meeting with the village board. No? Okay. 9B, update on the fitness center.
2 weeks ago, we had a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, which you can see the minutes in there, and Jeff was present at that. And we had a number of staff members, mainly that use the auditorium area there as well. And we kind of went through with Joe kind of what we were looking at and what some concerns were and how that could be incorporated in the design for the project. And the plan, I'm still kind of waiting to hear back what impact those few things that we talked about would have as far as budgetary. And then they're planning right now, their plan was to break ground October 15th. I haven't heard from him if that's altered or not, but that's was the plan.
Any questions? Questions? Everybody's so quiet tonight. All right. No arguments, right? 10, citizens' comments. Do we have any citizens' comments? Yes. If you could state your name, please.
I was about to.
Okay.
I'm Sherry Almquist. I'm a citizen in the district, and I'm also the athletic trainer at the high school. Just a quick comment on your HVAC. I'm begging you, please fix it. If you have not been in the athletic training room at all, I invite you all to come in and spend 3 hours that I spend in there every day with my gazillion athletes, that all the body heat and the heat from the ice machine. It cannot wait another year. It can't. Please, it is not a healthy working environment. That's all I have on that one.
Okay.
Then I do have another comment. I think while there's a lot of people here, it wasn't brought up in the agenda, so I don't know if this is the appropriate forum, but I'm here, so I might as well state my piece. I've been under the impression that there's a lot of issues going on with the volleyball program and attacks on the coach. And I just wanted to put in my little 2 cents, both as a citizen and as an individual with small kids in the district and what I'm trying to teach my kids. We talk about being respectful, responsible, and ready. That's kind of our theme for all of our kids in all of our schools. Responsible, respectful, and ready. And some of the things that I've heard, and again, it's rumor, it's, I don't have factual information, but I just think that in this forum, that it's not something that should come directly to the board. I think there's a process in place. If an individual parent has a complaint against a coach, then they should go to that individual and talk to that individual in person, face to face. And if that doesn't work, then they should go to Mr. Bronick, because that's his job, and allowing him to handle the situation, I think, is really the route to go. To have parents complaining to board members, I don't think is appropriate when it hasn't gone through the appropriate process. And by doing so, what are we teaching our kids? That when you have an issue with someone, you don't go talk to them directly, or you don't go talk to their boss. You go talk to the president of the CEO to get your boss fired. I just have a problem with that. It kind of goes along with being responsible for our actions, going through the proper protocols of how you deal with issues. And I think teaching people how to deal with personal issues in a respectful manner. Part of it is there a legitimate concern? If there is, then you go to the person, then you go to the boss, then you don't go to the president or the CEO. And as an individual parent, you're not always going to agree with the things that coach is saying or doing. Not everybody is going to agree with the process. But they're not there every day. They're not in practice every day. They don't see the input and the issues and the time that goes into trying to do the best for that team. If they are not trying to be supportive of that team, then again, what are you teaching your kid? You're teaching your kid that if you don't like something, then you just try to do everything that you can to make it not work? Or do you want to teach your kid that sometimes life sucks and sometimes it's not fair, but how are you as an individual going to deal with that situation when something difficult comes up? How are you going to be able to handle that? Are you going to be able to do things to be positive and try to make a difficult situation work? Part of it too, I think, is a me mentality versus a team mentality. What's best for me? What's best for my kid? Or do we want to teach our kids to be good teammates? To be a good, productive person that is willing to work with others? Or do we just want to say, if it's not my way, then, I don't like it and that individual has to go? And I don't think that's the right way to go about things. And then I just wanted to say that I've been here 8 years. The growth and development in the program is astonishing. When I came 8 years ago, it was painful to watch. I came from a larger school that had an excellent volleyball program. And when I came, wow, it was difficult. There wasn't a lot of effort being put forth. There wasn't a lot of skill. The development that I've seen in the program in the past several years has been phenomenal. And also with my children being young and coming up, and I would love for them to be able to play that sport. I played in high school myself. There are starting to be opportunities for younger children, which we haven't had in the district before. My oldest daughter's in 4th grade. I want her to be able to play volleyball and start learning the skills now, and that's starting to happen. Whereas before, there was never that option at all in the district. That's all I have.
Thank you. Other citizens' comments? Any other comments? Okay. Future agenda items. Anybody have any items? All right. The HVAC? Yeah, we'll have that on there. Schedule the next meetings is accurate. And at this time, entertain a motion for adjourning to closed session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85 1CF to consider employee concerns.
Second.
Jeff, Leah. Roll call, Keith?
Yes.
Leah?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. Let's take 10 minutes.
Sorry, I was late.